Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit or Zappy here, back again with Yowamushi Pedal. We are on episode 20 of season 1, and in the last episode, I sort of described it as a sort of connecting episode between arcs. So obviously we'd finished the training camp, we're moving on into the sort of, I suppose, the inter-high arc. I guess you could, depending on how long it is, like this sort of little, because I'm expecting this to be like a group of episodes of training before the inter-high actually starts. You know, but I don't know when we start the inter-high specifically. The fact is, because we're at episode 20 and this is season 1, generally seasons that go to this length, so we're obviously at 20, they will finish at around episode 24, episode 25. So, you know, I figured that if the inter-high was going to be in this season, then either it would have already started by now, or this season is more than 25, like it's extended maybe, I don't know. Because it being like the true, like the first competitive race, I figure it would be a bit epic, so it would span across a lot of different episodes. I mean, in the training camp sort of arc, there was like, you know, a couple episodes where, like, you know, things tend to expand, you know, across multiple episodes, you know, focusing around like the same thing. So yeah, I don't know where we go from here, but regardless, we are training, right? We are training right now. The group of the first years and the third year sort of training together to become one, like a sort of unit. They could probably be working on techniques and stuff together. But yeah, other than that, I don't know where else we're going. So I guess we'll just get straight in episode 20 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 20. Yeah, I really like that episode. I like the first half being specifically centered around Minami. So yeah, I guess we'll just start from the very beginning. So yeah, Hakone themselves have a tournament to determine who goes to inter-high. And I wonder how that is chosen, because it seems like they already had people in place that were always going to go, you know. I guess the third years were always going to go. Does that? And that's the thing, is that I don't know who the other two are, because I feel like I know 3 of them, and I feel like those are third years. But there's 2. There's the guy with like the orangey hair, and then there's another one who I don't know. I'm pretty sure like they're in the intro, and they're. You can kind of see, yeah, it's the guy that looks like, the guy who's got the fucking, eyelashes and stuff, right? It's either him or the guy that looks like Imaizumi. But, yeah, I don't know, like, were they always slated to go as well? You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like there's always places for the third years to go in, and whatnot, but it just seemed like the first 5 were always going to go. So they held a tournament specifically just to find one person out of 50 people. They've got 50 people in that fucking club. I mean, that's nuts. And yeah, and Minami ended up fucking winning his group, which was Group F, specifically climbing. Like, I don't know how, like, whatever bracket they were using for a tournament, I don't know how they decided that, because the fact that they called it a group, right, and it's Group F specifically for climbing, they decided that he should go based upon that group, that win. But generally in a tournament, a group means before the knockout stages, generally, right? Even if it wasn't, this technically would class as a knockout stage, because, I mean, well, they're taking Minami anyway, because he won that race. But I want to know why they decided to take him if he was part of the climbing group. Like, does that mean that there's 5 other groups that are all different from climbing? Right? Well, we know that, like, being a speedster, I guess that's one. What would the other ones be? I just feel like, because in my mind, we haven't really, like, there hasn't been like a set out like different styles, all of like the main ones that we've seen. I just know that there's climbers, there's speedsters, and then if there's anything else, I kind of just class them as like all rounders. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what else there could possibly be. I'm sure there is. I don't know if they'll ever like show it. It'd be nice if they did. Like if they just said like if I don't know, in the opening that other school that we see, the guy who's like they're in like pink kind of uniforms. The guy where like the nut job, whatever the fuck his name is, the crazy guy. He's a part of that school. It's the one Imaizumi is wanting to go up against, right? And beat. I can't find his fucking name. It's somewhere in here, but I don't know. Mido Suji, that guy, right? The school that he's part of, right? You see him like in the opening, like like he's written stuff on the whiteboard and he's basically showing them all this. I would like if he had like a graph of the different styles and then put each one into it, But it's interesting like that they're allowed 6 people for the inter-high and there's 6 different groups. So I don't know. I guess maybe this group was the last one. This group F was obviously the last one to determine who else is going, but the groups beforehand, they were chosen, and whoever won those are the guys that we are with at Hakone right now. So Todo, see, I guess that's the thing as well. I guess, they mentioned that Group F was a climbing group, but they didn't mention whether it was the only climbing group. Because I guess there could have been like Group C as a climbing group, I guess as well, maybe. And if Todo won that, then I guess, you know what I mean. I don't know. I mean, I'd probably assume that that's how it worked instead. Yeah. Well, in that case, if that is how it works, and there's only like 3 different styles: climbing, speedster, and then whatever the third one is. Then yeah, I just need to know what the third one is. I don't know. Maybe like marathoners, like ones that can go for like a very lengthy amount of time. You know what I mean? Stamina demons, I don't know what you would call them. But yeah, so yeah, Minami went up against Kuroda, who they said was athletic in his previous school. Now, as soon as he said that, I was like, does it really mean anything? I mean, obviously it would help to be athletic, but unless, I would imagine that if he did cycling back then they would have mentioned it, but the fact is they only said athletic, so I had it in my head anyway. It's like, well, I just don't say it. And clearly Manami's been doing it for longer, because we saw that in a little sort of flashback. And a girl who we got introduced to, class rep Miyahara. So yeah, she's cute. Bless her. She's the one that actually got Minami into cycling, so that's cool. Hakone as a school is a sort of, I kind of liken them to Shiratorizawa, I think, from Haikyuu, because it seems like, I mean, like we learned, there is still like a team dynamic around it, but it's not as focused upon as much. It seems like because the fact that they pronounce themselves, everyone in the team is an ace, that they're more about the individual effort, and that's what they're focusing more on, is individual effort versus the team effort, which I feel like more often than not, if you're going into a team sport, that's going to be your downfall, and that's where you let your guard down, and then other people tend to do better. And I think that's what they are sort of playing up there at the end with the Fukutomi, that's his name, isn't it? Fukutomi and Kinjo, that they're both like 2 sides of the same coin. One is focused primarily on doing things from his own back and being the individual, versus Kinjo, who we just saw last episode support Onoda, and doing it through teamwork, because I feel like maybe there was a case last year, and obviously where we saw it, where Kinjo and Fukutomi both overdid it, and I believe they said they used up everything in day 1 and they basically fucked it because of that. that Kinjo maybe last year was one of those people that may have not been about the team as much as he is now, and maybe that was what caused him to sort of change the way that he does things and now focuses more around a team, whereas Fukutomi maybe hasn't done that as much. So yeah, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah, where we at? Yeah, so in the flashback with Minami, that was interesting as well. He's sort of sickly. They call him like a sickly child, and how he's never really at school. So he wasn't even at school that much when he was a kid either, but for different reasons. So I don't know, like, was he lying or is he specifically sickly? It's odd, isn't it? It's quite weird. But it just seems like he's like more wanting to just be a part of nature more than anything else. In a way, it's crazy because he is a bit like, he's like an adrenaline junkie, but for like, because he wants to feel it. You know what I mean? He wants to feel it, but it's not as like, you know, it's not as like mental as what actual adrenaline junkies are talking about, like jumping out of planes and fucking all of that and base jumping and shit like that. You know what I mean? But it's more like, you know, he's more in tune with nature, so he's like going from fucking hunter away. So yeah, he uses nature to his advantage when he can. So. But yeah, it's just the sickly thing is like throw me for a loop because I don't know if it really described it as well as I'd liked. I don't know if they did it on purpose and like made sure that they didn't tell us right off the bat because maybe it's something that comes up later. But you know, I find it odd. You know, like what are these parents doing about it? You know what I mean? Because I feel like they would only keep him back if he was sickly, right? So I don't know then. Maybe there has to be more to it. Or maybe I just missed it, but I don't know. But yeah. Obviously it makes sense as well, him wanting to feel it. That's the reason why he likes to climb more, and he tends to be a climber, you know what I mean? He says he likes climbing. Because, you know, that's where you feel it the most, you know. It takes the most amount. So yeah, he also likes to feel free as well, by, you know, basically removing the gloves and stuff like that. It's like, alright, I want to be able to feel the wind. It allows him to have a technique that nobody else is using. You know what I mean? He uses that to his advantage, whereas everyone else doesn't really focus upon it. So he can focus on sort of outside. It's like an outside of the box kind of technique, that nobody else is thinking about, which can give him an edge. So yeah, I really like that. So yeah, that was the whole thing with Minami, so I really enjoyed that. And then we came back to Onoda and the crew. They ended up going to Makishima's house, and he's rich, of course he is. He's got a weird style. Fucking Imaizumi was wearing an unagi fucking shirt with a rabbit on it. And yeah, the fucking Onoda with the Best Boy shirt. God, I want a Best Boy shirt now. I might have to look that up and just see if I can get one. But I want it to be like more prominent. You know what I mean? Like for like Best Boy. Be great. So yeah, they went there to study something on a VHS tape, more like prefers analog. Yeah, so a road relay. It's funny because, you know, Todokuro was like, you know, he's like, it's not a marathon, it's a road relay. And then like the next line over, like when he's talking, the subtitle says it's a marathon over the course of the new year. It's like, well, is it marathon or isn't it? You know what I mean? When I think about a relay, it's when you're holding a baton, right, and you have to fucking pass it to somebody. You know what I mean? And then they take over, and then they go around. I mean, I don't know, but that wasn't the point anyway. The point was focusing on the feet because they are taking the same course essentially, and by getting an idea as to what what the course is like, then you know it basically removes the home field advantage exclusively for Hakone Academy. It means that that Sohoku have some they know what they're kind of up against when they're coming up to it. Now, of course, Hakone is still going to have the advantage over them because they've gone through that route, like, more times, experienced it themselves, you know what I mean? So they've had first-hand experience, whereas this is more second-hand experience. Like, I'm looking at it through footage, which isn't as helpful as obviously doing it yourself, but it's helpful nonetheless. So yeah, Makishima gave us the how many schools we're going to be taking part. That's 20, 6 in each, 120 races. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. That's where, like, I would feel for, like, the animators having to put in that many people. That's going to be nuts. I guess they could have done it in 3D, which might have lessened the load a bit, but doing it in, like, doing 2D, that would be a pain. But I can't wait. I can't wait for this fucking race to start. He also said that it was going to be a 3-day race, so that was something I did not know what was going to be the case. Like, I didn't know if it was just going to be a 1-day thing, but it was going to be a very lengthy race. But, generally, more often than not, professional cyclists and stuff, races do go over days. You know what I mean? So I guess it would make sense is what we're doing. And also that day 1 is in Hakone. So where the other days then? I don't know. But the interesting thing about that is that means day 1, that gives the advantage to Hakone, but then after that, that advantage is removed. So it's also interesting with it being a 3-day race that it allows for other schools to have a moment to shine if, like, they win the first day or they win the second day or the third day, But I mean, I think that's how it works. I think the only one that truly matters is the third day, like the last race. It's whoever gets over the line in the last race, right? It's all about the days leading up. Or you can get sort of individual victories for your team. Generally they can be individual. So, when in the welcoming race, when Onoda got up to the top of the peak and he got there first, you get, like, your own, an own special jersey that's different from everyone else, and stuff like that. But, generally it's technique and trying to figure out, when to expel your energy over the first 2 days before, going into the third one. So yeah, it's going to be interesting anyway. But like I said, it gives, like, other schools like a chance to have their own time in the spotlight and, come away thinking that they haven't truly lost everything and at least they got something. So the way that I can imagine this playing out is Hakone is going to win it overall. Sohoku isn't going to win it, but I think Sohoku might win 1 day, and it might be the first one, to be honest. I know I was talking about Hakone having the home field advantage and stuff like that, but I feel like because Sohoku are primarily focusing on the surprise aspect, no one's going to suspect what Onoda can do. Minami has rode with him a bit, but not to the extent that he knows what Onoda is capable of. Of course, he has to be capable of something decent if he's in high. But then again, Minami doesn't know who else is in Sohoku, and even if they're, because it could be a case like, oh, they choose Onoda because, sort of he's the best of a not so great bunch. But we know that isn't the case. So, based upon the surprise factor, it'll work once. I don't think it'll work again, which means that, I feel like that's how they're going to win 1 day. It's going to be primarily, like, surprise, like, come out the gate, like, people not expecting what Sohoku's capable of. So yeah, it allows them to come away from this race thinking that they lost overall, but at least they won something, and there's something there, like, to say that we can beat these guys if we work on it, So I like it. It's interesting. And yeah, so yeah, they mentioned that Fukutomi and Kinjo both overdid it last year. Yeah, so that's interesting. Like, I find that this happens a lot with sports animes when you have these. You tend to have specific individual rivals within team sports. So obviously, you have Kinjo and Fukutomi. You have Makishima and Todo. You'll have Onoda and Minami. You have Imaizumi and Mido Soji. Naruko doesn't have one yet, I believe, but I'm sure it'll be like another speedster who he's going up against. But there's always these like sort of in team sports individual rivals that you go up against, depending on if it's your same position, you both share the same position, or you're both the same type of cyclist, like climbers and speedsters and whatever else. But yeah, it's going to be interesting nonetheless. I don't know when it starts, but I can't fucking wait for it. But that is all I've got on this episode. So thank you for watching. In the description below, I've linked to certain things. One of them is the Discord. If you want any information regarding my content, you can get yourself over there. Then you can also come talk to me in the community as well. And Patreon. So I do have a Patreon. If you do want to support me, that'd be very much appreciated. There's a bunch of different tiers and rewards depending on how much you want to support me with. So there's the early access tier, $5 a month, gives you access to shows a week early, and you get 4 episodes of Hunter x Hunter every week as opposed to the usual 2 that the general public gets. So if you want more from me more frequently, that's where you want to go. There's also full length there for full length access, exclusive tier, elite tier, which gives you a choice of a show that you want me to react to, and I will react to it. Costs $50. But yeah, that goes to the back of the list. So if you want your show to be reacted to next and you want to get God tier, which is $100. But that is all. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.